Hello students, welcome to our online platform. Myself Engineer PP sir, your physics mentor. In today's lecture we are going to start fluid mechanics. So our new topic is fluid mechanics. So let us start. What is fluid? So if we talk about fluid, then what is fluid? So fluid is the name given to a substance which begins to flow when external forces are applied. So fluid is a substance which have tendency to flow in presence of external forces. So simply if we talk about fluid, then liquids and gases are known as fluids. So liquids and gases are fluids. Another property of fluids do not have their own shape. They acquire the shape of the container. They acquire the shape of container, and the branch of physics which deals with the study of fluids at rest. So see, we classify fluid mechanics into two parts. One is hydrostatics and another one is hydrodynamics. So hydrostatics is what? Study of fluids at rest. Study of fluids at rest. And if we talk about fluids in motion, then it is done under hydrodynamics. So these are two branches of fluid mechanics. Now this is general concept of fluid mechanics. Let us start our topic, which is from pressure. It starts from pressure. So what is pressure? So simply keep in mind that, let us say this is any containing vessel and a normal force is applied. Let us say this is a normal force F, and area of this fluid surface is, let us say, A. Then here this normal force is known as thrust. This normal force is known as thrust, and here pressure is defined as force upon area, or rather you can say that it is normal force acting in unit area. So P is equal to force perpendicular to area. So this is the simple concept. If we talk about its SI unit, then SI unit of pressure is Pascal, or you can say Newton per meter square. From here you can say force is measured in Newton, area in meter square. So Pascal or Newton per meter square. Its CGS unit. So CGS unit of pressure is dyne per centimeter square. Dyne per centimeter square. If we talk about its dimension, then its dimension is m1 L minus 1 T minus 2. M1 L minus 1 T minus 2. So this is the general concept of pressure. So simply you have to keep in mind that if a normal force acts on a given area, then force divided by that area is defined as pressure. SI unit is Pascal or Newton per meter square. CGS unit is dyne per centimeter square. Dimension is M1 L minus 1 T minus 2. So these are some general concepts. Now at a point, pressure acts in all directions. So if we talk about directional property of pressure, then it acts in all directions. So we cannot predict its a particular direction. Hence we say that pressure is a tensor quantity. Pressure is a tensor quantity, neither scalar nor vector. It has different magnitudes in different directions. So we can say that it is a tensor quantity. Now atmospheric pressure. So atmosphere, first of all, if we talk about atmosphere, then what is atmosphere? So the gaseous envelope surrounding the earth. The gaseous envelope surrounding the earth is earth's atmosphere, and atmospheric pressure is measured with respect to the sea level. Sea level. So it is measured from sea level. Clear? Its value, if we talk about atmospheric pressure, then its value is measured in ATM. So here it is given 1 ATM is equal to 10 to the power 5 Pascal or 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square, or another units, 1 ATM is equal to almost equal to 1 bar, or we can say it is equal to 760 torr. 760 torr. Another unit you can also say from here that 1 torr is equal to 760 mm of Hg. If we measure it from mercury level, then we consider it 760 millimeter of mercury level. So it is equal to 1 torr. If you are asked in centimeter, then you can say that it is 76 centimeter of mercury level. So these are some units of atmospheric pressure. The atmospheric pressure is maximum at the surface of earth, and as we move in upward direction, then atmospheric pressure keep on decreasing. So simply keep in mind, maximum value of atmospheric pressure at surface of the earth, and it keep on decreasing as we move in upward direction from earth surface. Now see, here it is given as hydrostatic pressure. Let us say this is a containing vessel, this is the surface, and a liquid is filled, and we have to find pressure at a certain point in the liquid, let us say which is at point P, and it is situated at h height from the top of the vessel. Let us say density of this liquid is rho. So here outside pressure is atmospheric pressure, this is atmospheric pressure, and here it is pressure P. So if we talk about this pressure P, then it is given as P is equal to P naught plus H rho G. P is equal to P naught plus H rho G. This is the value of pressure which we have to measure at any point situated inside the liquid from H height of the top of the liquid level. Then we are given these three different vessels, and here one thing is clear from these three diagrams, that liquid level in all these three vessels are equal. So simply you have to keep in mind that if liquid is filled up to a same level in different size and shape containers, then pressure is same at all points. If we calculate pressure at the bottom for all these three vessels, then pressure is similar. It means PA is equal to PB is equal to PC. But another thing which we have to keep in mind, that they are having different shapes. So due to different shapes, mass of liquid is different. So if we talk about different masses, then it can clearly be seen from these diagrams or these size of containers, then its area is large, then B, and smaller area is of A. So we can say that maximum mass or maximum weight of liquid is in C, then in B, and then in A. So you can see from here clearly that due to different shapes they have different masses, and due to that we can say that they have different weights, but their levels are same, so they have same pressure at the bottom, same pressure at the bottom. So concept is, whatever size the container may have, if they have same water levels, then pressure will be same at the bottom. Now see, here also we are having different size and different shape of the containers which are connected with each other. So here we can say, in a liquid at same level, the pressure will be same at all points. So we have discussed it in previous slide. If not, then due to pressure difference, the liquid cannot be at rest. So if we are considering that pressure is not same, then due to pressure difference there will be motion of liquid. Motion of liquid. This is why the height of liquid is same in vessels of different shapes containing different amounts of same liquid at rest when they are communication with each other. So if you have to keep them in steady state, then what should be the concept, that if they are connected with each other and same liquid is filled in different containers, then there should be same heights in the all liquid columns. Then gauge pressure. So what is the concept of gauge pressure? So gauge pressure is simply pressure difference. It is simply pressure difference. So pressure difference, or you can say difference of pressure between 2 points. Let us say that this is our container, a liquid is filled in this container, and we are finding pressure at this point P. Let us say it is at height H, and here atmospheric pressure is P naught. So it is pressure difference between these 2 points at the surface point or at the point which is residing inside the liquid. So let us say this is point A and this is point B. So we can say PA minus PB, or we can say P minus P naught, and it is equal to H rho G. It is equal to H rho G. So here pressure difference, which is also known as gauge pressure, is pressure difference P minus P naught, which is equal to H rho G. Here H is height, rho is density of liquid, and G is gravitational acceleration. Now let us discuss this problem. We are given that pressure at half the depth of the lake is equal to 2 by 3 pressure at the bottom of lake. So what we are given, that at half height, at half depth, pressure is equal to 2 by 3 times of pressure at the bottom of the lake. Then what is the depth of the lake? So we have to find depth of the lake. So simply we have seen here the concept that pressure at the bottom is P bottom is equal to, let us say, P naught plus H rho G. So I'm drawing its diagram. Let us say this is its diagram. Here we are considering, and this is the liquid field in this lake. I'm considering it a part of lake, and it is the height H. So at the bottom it is here P naught. Here let us say it is P, so it is P bottom. So P bottom is equal to P naught plus H rho G. Now at half depth, so at half depth it will be P, let us say P half depth is equal to, let us say, at any point here. So in this condition this height will be H by 2. So it is equal to P naught plus H by 2 rho G. P naught plus H by 2 rho G. And what is the relation in P bottom and P half? That P half is 2 by 3 times of pressure at the bottom. So from here we can conclude that it is 2 by 3 times, it is 2 by 3 times of pressure at bottom. So this is the relation. Now we can calculate value of H, height, from here. So see, if we cross multiply, then it is 3 P naught plus H by 2 rho G is equal to 2 P naught plus 2 H rho G. So it is P naught. So P naught is equal to 2 H rho G, and it will be subtracted. So it is 3 by 2 H rho G. Now we can find value 2 P naught upon 3 rho G. So this is the formula by which we can find depth of the lake. So atmospheric pressure is 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square, 1 atm, and 1 atm is equal to 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square. Density of water is 10 to the power 3 kg per meter cube. So it is 3 rho G, and G is 10. So we can calculate from here, and it is equal to, oh sorry, 3 also multiplied with it, so 3 H by 2. So it will be 1 by 2 H rho G, or simply H rho G. So it is almost 20 meter. So depth of lake is 20 meter. So this is the simple pattern of question. Now let us discuss next pattern of question. Two bodies are in equilibrium when suspended in water from the arms of a balance. This is an arm balance, and two bodies are suspended in a liquid, let us say like this way. This is a container in which liquid is filled. So these bodies are suspended like this. Let us say this is the concept which is given in the question. Two bodies are in equilibrium when suspended in water from the arms of a balance. The mass of one body is 36 gram and its density is 9 gram per centimeter cube. If the mass of other is 48 gram, its density in gram per centimeter cube. So see, this question is based on concept of apparent weight. Concept of apparent weight. So we will discuss this concept later on also. So here this question is given. So let us discuss. Apparent weight is simply, we know that weight of body is mg. Weight of body is mg. Here m is mass of that body. Now if we have to calculate its weight in terms of volume and density, then we can say that mass is equal to volume into density. So it becomes V rho g. Now here we are considering that we are given two objects and they are two different densities. So this is the concept of apparent weight. V rho minus sigma into G. So rho is the density of body and sigma is density of water if they are dipped in the water. So we can say that W apparent is equal to V rho minus sigma into G. Rho is the density of body and sigma is the density of water. So from here we can calculate apparent weight, and we are given equilibrium condition. It means weight of both the masses or both the objects are equal. So simply you can use this relation. In both the cases, density of water will remain same, but density of object is varying because here we are given different densities for different objects. So this is the general concept by which we can solve this question. This question is also of the same pattern. Now density. What is density? So simply whenever we see this topic density, then simply you have to keep in mind the density of any substance is given as mass in unit volume. So rho is equal to m upon v. Density is mass in unit volume. Simply you can say. Now see, if we talk about its directional property, then density does not have any direction, means it is simply a scalar quantity. If we talk about density of water, then density of water in SI unit, it is 10 to the power 3 kg per meter cube, or you can say 1 gram per centimeter cube, or this centimeter cube can also be written as cc, cubic centimeter. Cc means cubic centimeter. So density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube, or in SI unit system it is 10 to the power 3 kg per meter cube. Density of a substance means the ratio of substance to the volume occupied. So we have discussed this concept. Now density of body. Here a general concept is given that let us say that any body is made of any substance, and if we talk about density of that body, then that density of body is almost, or you can say that is analogous to density of that substance. It means we can say that mass of that body with respect to volume occupied. So for a solid body, density of body means density of that substance by which that body is formed. While for a hollow body, now if we talk about a hollow body, it is in case of solid body, and in case of hollow body, density of body is always lesser than that of substance, because it doesn't contain, that whole body doesn't contain the same substance, some space is left. That's why we say that density of body is now less than density of that substance. When immiscible liquids of different densities are poured in a container, the liquid of highest density. So simply concept from here we can say that if two liquids are mixed together or they are poured in a container, then higher density substance will be at the bottom and lower density substance will float. So this is the general concept at the bottom, while that of lowest density at the top, and interface will be plane, and plane interface will be there. Sometimes instead of density we use term relative density. So see, this is the concept of relative density or specific gravity. So relative density or specific gravity, both are similar terms. It is defined as density of any body with respect to density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. So it is specific. The density of water should be at 4 degrees Celsius, which is 1 gram per centimeter cube or 1 kg per meter cube. So this is the concept of relative density. Relative density or specific gravity. Relative density or specific gravity is unitless and dimensionless quantity. Unitless and dimensionless. Now see, we have a concept on which different pattern of questions are asked. Let us say that two liquids of masses m1, m2 and density ρ1, ρ2 are mixed together. Then what is the density of mixture? So in this condition, if we are given same mass and different density liquid or fluid are mixed together, then for mixture, rho mixture is equal to 2 rho 1 rho 2 upon rho 1 plus rho 2 means harmonic mean of those densities of liquids which are mixed together. And if we mix two substances of equal volume, then in that case it will be arithmetic progression. So here it is so arithmetic mean. So here rho mixture will be rho 1 plus rho 2 upon 2. So it is the case when densities are different densities and same volume. Here volume is same. So when volume is same, then it will be AP, AM arithmetic mean, and if we consider that mass is same, then it will be harmonic mean. Now see, with the rise in temperature, so what is the relation in temperature and density? So simply we know that rho is equal to m upon v, and we know that volume depends on temperature. If volume increases with change in temperature, then we can say that density will decrease. Density will decrease. So simply what you can say that if del theta increases, then volume also increases, but density decreases, because volume and density are reciprocal to each other. So this is the general concept from here, that if temperature is increased, then density of substance decreases. So density decreases and there is no change in mass. Mass will remain unchanged, remains unchanged. So this is the general concept of temperature and density relation. Then next, with increase in pressure due to decrease in volume, density will increase. So see, if pressure is increased, then volume decreases, and if volume decreases, then density increases, because rho is equal to m upon v. So this is the another concept, that if pressure increases, then volume decreases and density increases. So what we can say, that on increasing the pressure, density of substance or density of fluid increases. So let us discuss this pattern of question. A homogeneous solid cylinder of length. So we are given length of the cylinder capital L, and we are given that capital L is less than h by 2, means it is half of the height of the liquid filled. Cross-sectional area A by 5 is immersed such that it floats with its axis vertical at the liquid-liquid interface with length L by 4. So its L by 4 length, this L by 4 length is floating in liquid-liquid interface in the denser liquid as shown in the figure. The lower density liquid is open to atmosphere having pressure P naught. So this upward direction, in upward direction the liquid is filled which is of lower density, and here is atmospheric pressure P naught. The density capital D of solid is given by, so here density of this solid is, let us say, capital D. So you have to calculate its density. So what you are given two different liquids. One liquid is in up to this height and another liquid is from here to here. So both are in same heights, and this cylinder is immersing in those two liquids in such a way that its 1/4 part is in liquid of higher density, which is of density 2D, and 3/4 part is in liquid of lower density small d. And we have to calculate from here density of the solid which is emerging in this liquid interface. So see, we are given these different options. Let us discuss this pattern question. Weight of the cylinder is equal to upthrust due to both the liquids. So total weight of this cylinder will be equal to upthrust of both the liquids. So see, weight of cylinder is VdG. We are considering capital D as density of cylinder. V is volume displaced by this cylinder and G is gravitational acceleration. So VdG is equal to, now see, in case of volume displaced by each liquid, So in case of this upward, we can say volume displaced is h by 2. Volume can be said as its area. So area is cross sectional area a by 5. So a by 5 area is immersed here. So volume is area into length. So a by 5 into 3l by 4. So a by 5 into 3l by 4 into density. So its density is d into g plus in lower liquid. So in lower liquid, its length is l by 2. Area of cross section is same, a by 5. So again, a by 5 into l by 4 and density is now 2d into g. So this is the simple concept. By calculating from here, you can find value of density of the cylinder, which is 5 by 4d. So our correct answer is 5 by 4d, option number A. So what is the simple concept? Whatever you are given 2 or 3 liquid interface, you simply have to keep in mind that weight of that solid is always equal to upthrust by the liquids on that solid. Another pattern of question, equal masses of water and a liquid of density 2 are mixed together. So equal masses. So as you see equal masses, then you simply should know that you have to use harmonic mean. So harmonic mean is 2 rho 1 rho 2 upon rho 1 plus rho 2. We are given density of both the substances. One is water and another one is a liquid of density 2. So we know that density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. These are mixed. We are given, see, we are not given its unit here. So we are considering it in CGS. So it is 2 gram per centimeter cube. These are mixed together. So we can say 2 into 2, 4 upon 3, 4 by 3. So our correct answer is 4 by 3. So this is the correct one. Then see, next, our next topic is Pascal's law. So this Pascal's law is general concept which is based on pressure. So it states that if gravity effect is neglected, then the pressure at every point of liquid in equilibrium of rest is same. It means whenever any fluid flows through any given cross section, then pressure at all the points will be same. Or you can say that the increase in pressure at one point of the enclosed liquid in equilibrium of rest is transmitted equally to all other points of the liquid and also on the walls of container. So simple concept that you have to keep in mind, that whenever any fluid flows through any given cross section of pipe, then it exert equal pressures at every point when liquid is in equilibrium or at rest position. Like example, hydraulic lift, hydraulic press, hydraulic brakes, hydraulic cranes, these all are based on Pascal's law. They exert equal pressures. Rather, we can say that similar amount of pressure is exerted at every point. So we will discuss pattern of questions based on them. So let us say working of hydraulic lift. So here we are given a brief introduction of hydraulic lift. Let us say that this is a schematic of hydraulic lift in which we are considering that a liquid is filled which is used to make pressure. Here a load is fixed. This force F is applied on one interface. On one side, this force F is applied. Then what will happen? This force exert a pressure here and this pressure is transmitted to another side and it lifts the load. So this is the concept of hydraulic lift. It is used to lift the heavy loads. So how it is used to lift the loads? So by using the concept of Pascal's law, it transmits equal pressure. So what we can say, that total pressure at this point is equal to total pressure at this point. So if I consider that here force is F1 and here force is F2, here area of cross section is A1, here area of cross section is A2, then what we can say, that P1 is equal to P2. At both the interfaces, pressure exerted is same and pressure is force upon area. So F1 upon A1 is equal to F2 upon A2, or we can say that F1 upon F2 is equal to A1 upon A2. It means larger the area of cross section, larger the force applied. Larger the force applied. So this is the general concept which we can calculate from here. And so this pressure is transmitted equally to pistons of cylinder D. Hence, the upward force acting on piston of cylinder D is this. So you can calculate this relation. Simple concept which I am making you understand is that pressure at both the points will be equal. Then Archimedes principle. So Archimedes principle is a simple concept which is based on net forces of a body, net forces on a solid body when it is immersed in liquid partially or completely. So this concept, it accidentally Archimedes discovered that when a body is immersed partially or wholly in a liquid, in a fluid, in rest, it is buoyed up with a force equal to weight of fluid displaced by the body. This principle is called Archimedes principle. So what is happening here, that whenever a body is partially or completely immersed in a fluid, then there applies a buoyant force. Buoyant up means buoyant force applies, which is also known as upthrust, which is equal to weight of the fluid displaced by the body. So what is the amount of upthrust force in upward direction? Equal to fluid displaced by the body. So this concept can be understood by a simple example. Let us consider that you are having a glass full of water and you drop some pieces of stone in that water. Then what happens? As amount of space is covered by those stone pieces, as much amount water will come out of the glass. It means water is displacing, or water is displaced by that body. That body is stone here in our example, and it is a necessary consequence of law of fluid statics. So simple concept is there. When a body is partially or wholly dipped in a fluid, the fluid exerts force on the body due to hydrostatic pressure. So one force is due to hydrostatic pressure. At any small portion of the surface of body, the force exerted by the fluid is perpendicular. So if pressure is there, then we simply talk about perpendicular force and is equal to pressure at the top multiplied by the area. So this is the simple concept. It is known as upthrust. So what is upthrust? Upthrust is simply force applied by the liquid on that body which is immersed partially or completely in that liquid. Now see, this is the general concept. We are considering that this is the liquid which is filled in a container. This is a solid object which is placed inside this liquid. So we are considering here to determine the magnitude and direction of this force. Of this force means of buoyant force or upthrust force. A body immersed in a fluid of density sigma. So we are considering here that density of this fluid is sigma and density of this substance is rho. Density of this substance is rho. The forces on the vertical sides of body will cancel each other. So net force here applied on this liquid, and here a force is applied on this liquid, so they will cancel out each other. The top surface of body will experience a downward force. So as we dipped this object in this liquid or in this fluid, then it will feel a force in downward direction. But another force is applied on this fluid due to this liquid that will throw it in upward direction. So what is happening here? Force in downward direction is F1 is equal to pressure at upward point, means P1 into A. So we can simply say that F1 is equal to A into H1 rho g. H1 is height of top surface from the top level plus P naught. So this is force exerted on top surface of the solid, while the lower face of the body will experience an upward force. So this lower face will feel a force in upward direction. So it is F2. So F2 is equal to A into P2, and again P2 is H2 rho g, H2 density of, in a density sigma, sorry, force is applied by liquid. So here we are considering density of this liquid as sigma. We are considering its density as sigma. So H2 sigma g plus P naught. Clear? And this difference of these two forces, net force is in upward direction. So F2 minus F1 will give us the magnitude of buoyant force. So you can simply see from here that net force is in upward direction. So we can say that net force is F2 minus F1, and it is equal to C A P naught cancel out. So it is A sigma G, and it is H2 minus H1. So this is the magnitude of force in upward direction. Magnitude of force in upward direction. If L is the vertical height of body, then F is equal to, if we consider that vertical height is L of this body, means we are talking about this height, and it is equal to L is equal to H2 minus H1. So from here replace H2 minus H1 by L. So net force is A sigma GL. A sigma GL, or you can see that sigma GL, A into L is volume, so V sigma G. So net force is V sigma G. This is net force acting on this solid surface due to this liquid which is in upward direction. So net force is in upward direction. This is the general concept. This force is called upthrust or buoyant force, and this concept is known as buoyancy, and it acts vertically upwards. So simply you have seen many times in your daily life that whenever you place any object inside a liquid, then it upthrusts that object in upward direction, and it is applied by liquid on that solid body. Though we derived this result for a body fully submerged in a liquid, it can be shown to hold good for partly submerged bodies or body in more than one fluid also. Upthrust is independent of all factors of body such as mass, size, density. So simply what we have seen in magnitude, that upthrust force is equal to V sigma G. V is volume displaced by the solid, sigma is density of that fluid, and G is gravitational acceleration. So see, this upthrust force is independent of mass, size, density of the body. It simply depends on volume. It simply depends on volume of that body. Upthrust depends upon the nature of displaced fluid. Depends on nature of displaced fluid. So nature means density. This is why upthrust on a fully submerged body is more in seawater than in fresh water, because density is more than fresh water. In seawater, density of seawater is more than density of fresh water. So upthrust force will be more in seawater with respect to fresh water. Apparent weight of the body of density rho when immersed in a liquid of density sigma. So we have seen a question based on this. So this is the concept of apparent weight. So apparent weight is actual weight minus upthrust. So actual weight, let us say W. So W apparent is equal to, so actual weight is mg, or m can be said in terms of volume and density. So it is V rho g minus upthrust is V sigma g. Upthrust is V sigma g. Upthrust is applied by the liquid, so density will be used of liquid, and weight is of body, so density will be used of body. So here we can say that it is V into rho minus sigma into g. V into rho minus sigma into G, or you can say that W apparent is equal to, if we take rho as common, then it is V rho G, and V rho G is V W actual, or it becomes 1 minus sigma upon rho. So this is the concept of apparent weight. Apparent weight means force experienced by, or yeah, weight experienced by that body in that liquid. If a body of volume V is immersed in a liquid of density sigma, then its weight reduces. So always keep in mind that whenever a body is immersed in a liquid, then its weight becomes lighter, or you can say that it feels a weight lighter than actual one. It means weight reduces. So weight of the body in air and weight of the body in water. So if we talk about these, then apparent is loss of weight. So it is W1 minus W2 is equal to V sigma G, or volume is W1 minus WT upon sigma G. So it is clear, W1 is weight in air, W2 is weight in water. So W1 minus W2 is equal to V sigma G, upthrust. Or we can say volume is V is equal to W1 minus W2, means apparent weight upon sigma into G. So this is the case when we are given weight into different medias. Then relative density. So relative density of a body. So we have seen it earlier also, the density of body with respect to density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Or you can say in terms of weight, that weight of body with respect to weight of equal volume of water. Or you can say weight of body with respect to water upthrust. So these all formulas are associated with relative density. And in another words, we can say weight of body with respect to loss of weight in water. Loss of weight in water, or weight of body in air with respect to weight in air minus weight in water, means W1 upon W1 minus W2. We can also replace it by this formula. If loss of weight of a body in water is A while in liquid is B, then we can simply say sigma L upon sigma W. So sigma L is density of liquid and sigma W is upthrust. So upthrust on a body in liquid and upthrust on a body in water. It is equal to loss of weight in liquid with respect to loss of weight in water, means A upon B. So it can simply be found by using this relation. So loss in water is W air minus W liquid, or no, this is loss in liquid, W air minus W liquid, and loss in water is W air minus W water. So this is the relation of A upon B, means loss of weight of a body in water with respect to in liquid B. Then flotation. Concept of floating. So concept of floating is based on simply density of substance or body and density of the fluid. So translatory equilibrium, when a body of density rho and volume V is immersed in a liquid of density sigma, the forces acting on the bodies are, so when a body is submerged, let us say this is the body, its density is rho and density of this fluid is sigma. So here net forces are weight of body. So weight of body is V rho g. It always acts vertically downwards. Clear? Next force is upthrust force. Upthrust force is V sigma g. It always acts vertically upwards. Clear? So these two forces are acting, weight of body and upthrust force. If density of body is greater than density of liquid, so see, if density of body is greater, then in a previous slide I have explained you that object of higher density always sinks in a liquid, or it sits in the bottom of that fluid, and if density of a substance is smaller, then it floats on that liquid surface. So see, if density of body is greater than liquid, then it will sink. It means weight will be more than upthrust, so body will sink. Weight is greater than upthrust force. So if weight is greater, then it will sink. If density of body is equal to density of liquid, so in this condition, weight will be equal to upthrust, so the body will float fully submerged. So body will completely be inside the liquid and then it will float in neutral equilibrium anywhere in the liquid. So what will happen in this condition? In this condition, weight is equal to upthrust force. So body will float in the liquid by fully submerging. And if density of body is less than density of liquid, then in this condition body will float, but it will be partially immersed. So see, this amount is simply in the liquid and rest is outside of the liquid. So it is partially immersed in the liquid. And in this condition, weight is less than apparent force or upthrust force. Clear? So in this condition, body will float, but with partial immersion in the liquid. A body will float in liquid only and only. So what is the condition for floating? So condition for floating is that density of body should always be equal to or less than density of liquid. Then only it will float. If density of liquid is greater, then it will float, or it should be equal to density of substance. So in case of floating, as weight of body is equal to upthrust, so we can say that apparent weight is zero. It means there is no change in weight experienced. So we can say that in case of floating, V rho g is equal to V in sigma g. So V in case of partial submersion. So here, see, here we talk about volume of this substance which is inside the fluid. So here it is V in. Clear? So we can also see from here that it is equal to V in sigma g. Sigma is density of fluid and it is equal to V rho g. V rho is density of substance. So in this condition, it is displacing the fluid, which is simply this portion. So here V rho g is equal to V in sigma g in case of partial floating. So the equilibrium of floating bodies is unaffected by variations in g through both thrust and weight depend on g. So what we are considering here, that either upthrust or weight both are independent or both cannot vary value of g. Then rotatory equilibrium. So it was up to that previous slide we were discussing translatory equilibrium. Now we are talking about rotatory equilibrium. So when a floating body is slightly tilted from equilibrium position, the center of buoyancy B shifts. So this is the normal position. If it is being tilted either in this side or in this side, then what will happen? Point of buoyancy B shifts. So this point B will be shifted. The vertical line passing through the new center of buoyancy B dash and initial vertical line meet at a point M, and this called as meta center. So see, in this condition, this is condition of tilting, this is the direction of weight, this is the initial position of buoyancy B. Now this is the position of buoyancy B dash. So they both meet at a point M. So this is the point M. This point M is known as meta center. Clear? So this is the general concept of rotatory equilibrium. Now application of flotation. What are the applications of flotation? So when a body floats, then weight of body is equal to upthrust. So this we have considered, or this we have studied in our previous slide. Then in this condition, V rho g is equal to V in sigma g, or V in is equal to rho upon sigma into V. So we can say volume of remaining portion can be find out from this relation. So volume of remaining portion is total volume minus volume inside the liquid. Volume inside the liquid. So it is V minus V in. That is fraction of volume outside the liquid. So F out you can say, or you can say simply. So fraction can be find out with respect to actual volume. Means V out total volume outside the liquid upon total volume. So V out is 1 minus rho upon sigma into V upon V. So it is 1 minus rho upon sigma. This is fraction of volume outside the liquid. For flotation, V rho is equal to V in sigma. Or you can say that rho is equal to V in upon V into sigma, and V in upon V is fraction which is inside the liquid. Fraction which is inside the liquid. So these are general cases based on floating application. If a platform of mass m and cross section A is floating in a liquid of density sigma with its height h inside the liquid, then in that case mg, so mg is equal to, here this is volume, volume हो गया यहाँ पर h into a, height into area of cross section, and sigma is density of liquid into g. So mg is equal to ha sigma g. So simply these all the parameters are explained based on that. We will explain these things in the questions. So let us discuss this pattern of question. A wooden block with a coin placed at its top float in water. So it is floating in water. This is the wooden block and a coin is placed on its top. So this is the coin. The distance L and H are shown there. So distance L. So distance means it is the length of this solid wooden block which is inside the liquid, and it is the total depth from its bottom. Total depth from the bottom. After some time, the coin will falls into the water. So this coin is placed on this wooden block. We are given length of this block inside the water and length of this block from the bottom of the container. So what our options are? L decreases and H increases. So this coin will fall into this liquid. So what is the condition of its falling? So simply keep in mind, as the block moves up with the fall of coin, L decreases. So as the coin will move, then L decreases. Similarly, H will also decrease, because when the coin is in water, it displaces water equal to its volume only. So when this coin will drop inside this liquid, then it will simply displace the liquid equal to its volume, the volume contained by this coin. So here L and H both will decrease. L and H both will decrease. So both L and H decrease when this coin falls in the liquid. So you can find specific gravity here. Specific gravity is known as relative density. So you are given specific gravities. Specific gravities means densities and masses, and they are mixed together. So you have to simply calculate this relation. This is also a simple pattern of question. Now streamline laminar and turbulent flow. So see, we talk about flow of fluids which can be defined in two manners generally: streamline and turbulent. Streamline can also be defined as steady flow. So steady flow and turbulent. So streamline flow of a liquid is that flow in which each element of liquid passing through a point travels along the same path and with the same velocity as the preceding element passes through. So what we are considering, let us say that this is any pipe of certain cross section, and these are different water layers or liquid layers which are flowing through this pipe. So I am marking here some points. So let us say these are points, this, this, this. So in front of these points, let us say at this place, whenever any liquid layer will pass or any element of this fluid will pass, then it should be in the same path and it should have same velocity at this place. Let us say at this place its velocity is v1, at this place velocity is v2, at this place velocity is v3. Then all the elements passing through these points, these certain points, should have same velocity, and should follow the same path, then such flow is known as streamline flow. A streamline may be defined as the path straight or curved. Now I am considering here a straight path. It may also be curved path. So it may also be like this. This may also be curved path, but path should be same, and velocity at a certain instant or a certain point should be same. The tangent to which at any point gives the direction of the flow of liquid at that point. So here if I draw the tangent here, then its direction is this. At this point, its direction is this. At this point, its direction is this. So any tangent drawn at that point gives the direction of fluid flow. So here it is explained. These three different points are considered, and these three different velocities are considered at points A, B, and C. So this is for curved path, and I have explained here for straight path. The two streamlines cannot cross each other, and the greater is the crowding of streamlines at a place, the greater is the velocity of liquid particles at that place. So what we are considering, that at any point, if there are large number of streamlines, then it means there is large density. Large density represents that velocity of fluid is high at that place. And if we talk about intersection of two streamlines, then two streamlines cannot intersect each other. If they intersect each other, then their flow will disturb and they will be in turbulent flow. Path ABC is a streamline as shown in the figure. V1, V2, V3 are the velocities of the liquid particles at ABC points respectively. So I have explained this thing here. Then laminar flow. So laminar flow means flow of fluid layers one on each other, one after another. So if a liquid is flowing over a horizontal surface with a steady flow, this is one layer, another layer is this way, then another layer is this way, and all these layers are in streamline, or you can say steady flow. So see here steady flow is used, so you can say steady flow or you can say streamline flow. So if a liquid is flowing over a horizontal surface with a steady flow and moves in the form of layers of different velocities, so all these layers may have different velocities. So such flow is known as laminar flow. In this flow, the velocity of liquid is always less than critical velocity. So what is this critical velocity? Let us discuss it here. Critical velocity, VC. So critical velocity is a certain amount of velocity up to which it remains in steady flow, and if velocity is increased, then its flow disturbs and it becomes turbulent. So what is turbulent flow? So turbulent flow is when a liquid moves with a velocity greater than critical velocity. So now I explained earlier that if a particle or if a fluid flows more than critical velocity, then its flow will be turbulent, and if a fluid flows a velocity less than critical velocity, then its flow will be laminar, or you can say steady flow, or you can say streamline flow. So general concept is steady flow. So in this condition, motion becomes disordered or irregular. Such a flow is called turbulent flow. So example of turbulent flow. So you can say water flowing in rivers. So in river, water flow is turbulent in nature. In a turbulent flow, the path and velocity of the particles of liquid change continuously. Path will change continuously. So I simply give you an example of water flow in the river. So you can simply say that different layers are moving with different velocities. Somewhere velocity is greater, somewhere velocity is smaller. So different velocities से travel कर रहे हैं. It means flow of that fluid is turbulent. Critical velocity and Reynolds number. So let us discuss concept of critical velocity and Reynolds number. So critical velocity is the velocity of fluid up to which its flow is streamlined and above which its flow is turbulent. Clear? So a maximum velocity up to which its flow will be streamlined and above which it becomes turbulent flow. Then Reynolds number. So Reynolds number is simply a pure number which gives us the concept of streamline flow and turbulent flow. So it is inertial force per unit area with respect to viscous force per unit area. So F inertial per unit area with respect to F viscous per unit area. So this is the simple concept of Reynolds number. If a liquid of density rho is flowing through a tube of radius r and cross section A, then mass of liquid flowing is dm upon dt. So dm upon dt, mass flowing in unit time. mass flowing in unit time. So it can be equal to A rho into V. So AV rho, or we can say that inertial force per unit area. So inertial force per unit area is dp upon dt upon A, or we can say V into dm upon dt upon A, or you can say that it is equal to V square rho. V square rho. So we are deriving a relation for Reynolds number here, and viscous force. So viscous force is force upon area. It is Nv upon R. We will study in detail when talking about viscosity. So simply you have to keep in mind that Reynolds number Rn or Nr is equal to V rho R upon eta. V rho R upon eta. So rho is density, R is radius, eta is coefficient of viscosity. We will discuss coefficient of viscosity later. Now see, flow can be defined based on Reynolds number. If value of Reynolds number is 0 to 2000, let us clear it. If it is between 1000 to 2000, if Reynolds number is between 1000 to 2000, then its flow is streamline. If it is between 2000 to 3000, then liquid is unstable, means changing from streamline to turbulent. And if Reynolds number is greater than 3000, then it is turbulent flow. So you have to simply keep in mind these figures. 1000 से 2000 के बीच में streamline flow, 2000 से 3000 के बीच में variation starts from streamline to turbulent, and greater than 3000 turbulent flow of fluid. So these are general concepts based on flow of fluid. Now let us discuss this question. Two different liquids are flowing in two tubes of equal radius. The ratio of coefficients of viscosity of liquids is 50 raised to 49. It means we are given eta 1 upon eta 2. And the ratio of their densities is 13 raised to 1. So rho 1 upon rho 2 is equal to 13 raised to 1, and eta 1 upon eta 2 is equal to 52 upon 49. 52 upon 49. Then the ratio of their critical velocities. So critical velocity is here V1. So we know that Reynolds number is equal to V rho R upon eta. That V is equal to Reynolds number into eta upon rho R. Clear? So V1 upon V2 is equal to eta 1 upon rho 1 into rho 2 upon eta 2. So you can simply give the relation. So eta 1 upon eta 2 is 52 upon 49, and rho 2 upon rho 1 is 1 upon 13. So 13, 4 raised to 49. So option number A is correct. It is 4 raised to 49. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching today's video. आज की वीडियो में बच्चों इतना ही. I tried my best to explain you each and every point of fluid mechanics. Even that if you have any issue, any problem regarding any topic, any question, then you can ask us in your comment section in our app. So your problem will be resolved definitely. So that's it for today. Let us meet in next lecture with the remaining portion of the fluid mechanics. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video.